Do you know which martial art punches the hardest? If I go back to my younger years of training in karate and different styles like Taekwondo, it was always arms chambered in, make sure you're rotating your punch. And that motion for what's called supination to pronation helps get some extra snap and whip on that punch. When I was taught, it was always pull the arm back as fast as you can so you let the energy go and flow through. Love the idea, love the concept for sure. It helped me generate a lot of power for sure, but then when I went to kickboxing as a teenager, things started changing a little bit more because they were really focusing on rotation. One of my kickboxing coaches said, imagine that you have a pole from your head, down your spine, sticking out your ass, and you want to be rotating on that as much as you can. At a beginner level, that really helped me actually build a lot more power than what my karate and Taekwondo was showing me, at least I found when I was punching stuff. Because now I wasn't just thinking of one side of my body doing the work. I was thinking both sides of the body doing the work. So maybe I'm thinking about pulling back on this arm more so that I'm firing out this punch more. Or maybe I'm just thinking about punching this out and this gets pulled back anyways. I'm always trying to master this push-pull feeling to find that balance. When I'm doing that, it allows me to rotate my shoulders. When you're throwing a strong punch, you want to also have a long punch. So I'm making sure that this shoulder is driving forward as much as I possibly can to get the most amount of reach and range out of my punch, especially if I'm shorter or smaller than my opponent. My hip's doing the same thing. I'm rotating my hip, so I'm driving the hip forward as this one may be driving back a bit. But that all depends on the connection I now have past my hips into my feet. A superficial pivot would kind of be me pushing off of this and just shifting my weight there. So I'm taking my weight from here and I'm just pushing it over. We can call this momentum now. So if I think about getting that rotational power with that momentum shift all the way through, you can see I'm now connected to the floor. And finding that connection to the floor now ties into all the ways that I learned how to punch when I was doing various traditional styles of Kung Fu. The most recent one, Wing Chun, was super cool though, because it showed me that all of the things I was doing was great, but I never really had the pop in my punch. I didn't really have that snapping short range power. I could feel it when I could go into my karate, but every time I was trying to do the Wing Chun, I was too tense and too tight. I had to learn to relax my muscles and not have my muscles do the work. So it's not like I was using my triceps smashing down like a hammer fist or using my shoulder raising it up. That created more of a wave. I had to, for the first time in my life, actually think about the joint doing the work itself. So I was thinking about lifting the elbow up and popping that out. When that started happening, I started getting a little bit more snap on the punches, and I really started generating a lot of power. But it still wasn't like the perfect meld of everything. So what did Bruce Lee do? He took everything and just put it together, and he made it work for himself. When you're trying to strike something, you can generate a ton of power if it doesn't move. You can break ice, you can break granite, you can do lots of those things. But when it comes down to a fight, you may well only get one punch. So you better train that that punch works. So let's tie everything together, thinking about all those things. I'm gonna set my left hand out here or my jab punch because I'm trying to create power in my cross right now, allowing me to rotate. When I set that jab, I'm gonna cheat a little bit and I'm gonna push and shift some weight to my back leg. So now here, I'm not like Wing Chun, now I'm pushing out and I'm loading myself back. This allows me to start thinking of that rotation. Like a spring, I'm coiled. I'm taking that spring, compressing that spring, finding that in my vastus lateralis or the outside of my leg muscle, and that's gonna help drive me forward. While I'm driving forward, I'm making sure that my heel is pointed directly to the center of the target, aligning my calf muscle, my quad muscle, my hamstrings, my glute. So now I have a true connection in my stance. I'm rotating through in my hips, trying to pull this back, but as I start pushing off of this, notice how my weight will shift forward. So it may not look like I'm doing this and pulling this back because I'm actually using momentum and my body weight moving forward to help generate even more power and more range in my punch. In all of that motion, at some point there, I have to be able to time that pop in the punch. That's probably going to be the hardest one, especially if you punch for years. So you're going to pull here, you're going to push off of this, you're going to drive forward, rotate through, and you're going to pop before you hit. Let's give it a try. So see there, what happened is when I went to pop it, notice my range was off a little bit. If I move just a little bit more forward, maybe that much, now I'll be able to knock it over no problem. Almost no problem. When it comes down to it, I don't think there's one martial art that punches harder, because we all understand force equals mass times acceleration. If I have more mass, I should be able to create more power. If I have better rotation, I should create more power. If I have more pop, I should create more power. So at the end of the day, learn how to master yourself and see if you can time all of those things together and learn your range, learn your distance, learn everything. Play with it. This is something you don't need a partner for. This is something you can spend hours doing. There's ways that you can do it. You can break boards like the clickbait. You can go ahead and buy a heavy bag or punch that. They got super cool new machines now that have like power generator meters on them. All of those are fantastic. But I honestly believe that the best way to do it is punching the air. And we don't need any equipment for that. We just need the time and the dedication to build some true power. Train your ass off.